Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before. You just woke up, or finished eating lunch, or finished working an 8-hour shift, and you pull out your phone. You start by checking a couple notifications, maybe a friend messaged you or your favorite YouTube channel released a new video, but then a few seconds or minutes later, you've checked everything you picked up your phone for, and now you're searching for something to hit you, to make you feel something. Maybe it's on TikTok, Instagram, or Reddit. This goes on for several minutes, and in some, hopefully rare cases, several hours. But by the time you're finished, you don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, you just feel numb. How did we get here? Is this what we really want out of a phone? And why is the iPhone 6 of all phones so important? To answer this, we need to go back. Maybe not that far back. This is the first generation iPhone released 18 years ago in 2007. It could do revolutionary things like play music, make phone calls, take pictures, read emails, and even access the internet, albeit quite painfully slow, all on one device. When this phone first released, it didn't have an app store, or really any of the creature comforts we come to think of nowadays when we think of a modern-day smartphone, including its size. This is a tiny phone. You see, Steve Jobs never intended or wanted phones to become these massive tablet-sized behemoths we have today, saying, quote, "It fits beautifully in the palm of your hand, making it perfect for phone calls," and that, quote, "no one would ever want a large phone." I think it's very easy to look at this sentiment nowadays and laugh, but I think that this marks a distinct change in the perception of what a modern smartphone should be. I've got a question. Why are there so many phones coming out nowadays that aim to take away features? Dumb phones, light phones, or whatever you want to call them, are phones that are designed to take out the addictive features that have been put into modern-day smartphones and give you the bare essentials. And more people have been flocking to these devices over the recent years. I believe the answer to that question is that at some point phones stopped being tools, and I believe the iPhone 6 might not have been the start, but it was certainly the catalyst that has led us into the modern era of smartphones for good and bad. The iPhone 6 released in 2014, 7 years after the original iPhone and 3 years after Steve Jobs' death, and marked a distinct shift. They made it bigger. This is the first time Apple released a plus-size version of one of their phones, with a 5.5-inch screen, which seems small now, but compared with the 5's 4-inch display, it was outright massive in comparison. Tim Cook called this phone the biggest advancement in the history of iPhone, and I think he might have been right. In addition to it having a bigger screen, this is the first iPhone to have a full 1080p HD screen. And if I'm being honest with you, even 11 years later, this screen still looks amazing. According to Apple, the performance of the iPhone 6 was 50 times that of the original iPhone, which, remember, was only 7 years prior. The iPhone hadn't hit this point of diminishing returns yet, where every year they talk about how fast the new one is, yet I genuinely don't know how to make my current iPhone slow down. This is also the first iPhone that introduced Apple Pay, which would turn out to be massive as more and more merchants in the United States started accepting tap to pay. This time period also felt like an app golden age, where companies were releasing these groundbreaking services and apps without all of the bloat which has been added throughout the years. In the 7 years since the original iPhone released, Instagram came out. YouTube went from a place to share silly videos to a place people built whole careers through. Netflix introduced a streaming-only plan alongside an iOS app. Uber and DoorDash both launched, which revolutionized these long-standing industries. Candy Crush and Clash of Clans both released, which when combined have made almost $30 billion. Having your iPhone fit comfortably in the palm of your hand to make phone calls wasn't really what people were after anymore. They were after a single device that they could use for everything. And Apple no longer being controlled by a visionary psychopath made that device. This led the iPhone 6 to become the most popular iPhone ever, selling over 224 million units. Nowadays, you can use your phone for dating, socializing, working, shopping, relaxing. Hell, if it's a thing that you can do, you can probably do it on your phone. And I think ultimately, that's the answer as to why so many people are starting to pull back from these devices, is because just because you can do everything on them doesn't really mean that you should. Why have to go through the trouble of actually ordering a coffee with a real human being, or God forbid making small talk, when you could just place a mobile order, interact with no one and pick it up, or even better yet, not even leave your house and just get DoorDash to bring it to you? Why try and meet new people who you can actually interact with face to face and do things with when you could just join a Discord call? Why start a new hobby when you could just doom scroll and get the same hit of dopamine that you would get from hours of work? Modern smartphones are incredible pieces of technology which I got the privilege of getting to see come into existence during my lifetime. And frankly, despite their problems, I would not want to go back to a time without them. But I do think we have hit a point of diminishing returns, where they're just not quite as exciting as they used to be. And in my opinion, the most exciting they ever were was the iPhone 6. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.